The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
You're listening to the Alldus podcast ServiceNow series. Our guest today is Ritesh Dalal. Ritesh is the founder and CEO at Intellective. Ritesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So Ritesh, let's start with yourself, please, as we do with all of our guests. Could you provide a little overview of your background in technology, where you got started, maybe some of the roles you've held along the way, and what's led you to where you are today as the founder and CEO at Intellective?
So I started out a long time ago in the design space. And so my primary background was around design and creativity and how do you actually make the most of all the technology that we see around us. And from design got into technology development and saying, how do we make the design functional? And that's what has been stuck for the most part of my career now. In terms of roles, I've had just about every possible roles, all the way up to managing teams of thousands of people in general, things like that as well, like across countries and different things like that, to where we are today with Intellective. And Intellective is something that I started about 10 years ago now. And our main focus is actually marrying the two things that I love the most, which is design and technology. And what we're doing for the ServiceNow ecosystem here is really saying, how do we make the best experience possible on the ServiceNow platform? Because the platform itself is tremendous, but one of the big problems that most of the customers are facing is how do we get better engagement? How do we get better experience out of it? And that's where we strive.
So you mentioned launching Intellective. Prior to that, you were already heavily involved in the ServiceNow ecosystem, but you created Intellective back in 2016. So we're coming up over 9 years now since you launched the business. And obviously the ServiceNow platform itself has changed and evolved dramatically over that time. If you could maybe help us visualize the journey, just capping it into from where you started, some of the early successes you had with customers, and most importantly, give us visibility of the current makeup of the business Intellective, from the people, the products, and maybe talk to us a little bit about the current offerings.
So one of the things, like how we started out with ServiceNow, was actually helping ServiceNow themselves as a customer zero of their own platform. And so this is, again, back in 2015, 2016 timeframe, where a lot of the products that we see today did not exist. And it was just a better remedy, for the lack of a better kind of comparison. But in terms of, it was more lists and forms and more lists and more forms. And as we were helping ServiceNow do this in terms of getting better user experience, what we figured was that the customers of the platform are facing the same kind of dilemma in terms of how do we make better use of the platform and how do we get better UX on it. And so we started out primarily in the consulting space on building better experiences on ServiceNow. Since then, what we realized is as we went into other customers, and early successes were around very unique problem solving. So Intellective has always been the company that can solve problems that most other partners are either not focusing on or just haven't been able to solve. So some of the few examples I'll give you very, very early on. One big thing was that nobody was using ServiceNow for public-facing applications or public-facing web presence in general. And we had a customer that wanted to actually use it, a large university, one of the big Ivy League universities, and they wanted to actually use ServiceNow for parents and vendors and different populations that don't necessarily have accounts in their platform. And how do we go about getting that done? And so those were the kind of unique problems that we were solving for customers. And that's how we got our hold into really becoming this trusted advisor for customers to say, how do you leverage ServiceNow more than what you think you can? How do we really make use of the platform? And since then, one of the things that we did is all of the problems that we were solving, we productize those solutions. So the customers don't have to pay a lot to have somebody come in and do the same thing over and over again. Because a lot of the things that we do or that we see in the partner ecosystem, where we have partners coming in and solving the same problem for each of these customers, and every time the customer is kind of paying for it for having it done from scratch. But when we have a product and a license, a lot of the work comes in as part of the product itself, and it doesn't have to get redone. And so that's what we ended up doing in Intellective. So the past 5 years or so, where we have actually been focusing on building products that solve particular gaps in the ServiceNow ecosystem, primarily around user experience development. So how do we build better knowledge? How do you build better portals? How do you build better emails? All of those kind of things. And that's where we are now. And looking into the new year, or looking into this particular year and going forward, we are looking to consolidate a lot of the products that we have into one single solution that would be a managed solution that customers can just simply not have any worries about upgrades or anything else. We would be the team of experts available to them the entire time, where we would be able to build any kind of UI for them, leverage the platform for the power that it can deliver to them without really having to worry about, oh, what is going to happen when a new release comes out, or what is going to happen if I lose a developer internally or something like that. So that's what we are actually working towards now, where we're building a end-to-end solution for experience on ServiceNow.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I know we're going to come back to the plan for the year ahead towards the end of the conversation, but I want to stay on the topic of the solutions that you're providing now. When you think of the customer experience and who's utilizing Intellective, are there any recent examples that you could share with us from an end user, a customer who is engaged with the products, is working with Intellective, and what was their objective? What brought them to work with Intellective? And most importantly, what was the outcome? What problem did you solve?
There is a number of customers that we work with around the globe, in fact, and we'll actually start with one where we help them build an end-to-end employee experience using the products that we have, and that is Paramount Pictures. And the interesting part is when we started working with them, it was a Viacom CBS. And at the very last minute, right before the go live, we had to rebrand it to Paramount. But because we were using the products that Intellective builds for creating the portals, creating the knowledge and everything else, we were able to do that within that and without actually moving any kind of timelines. So what we did for Paramount was we took in and we helped them draw down about 26 different web properties that they were managing across various countries and various teams, and consolidate that into one singular intranet that runs on ServiceNow, that still serves all of the bespoke requirements that they had in terms of authoring, in terms of various countries and various users from all these countries being able to see certain things or author certain things. And that is where we saw that they were able to draw down multiple different teams and have one central COE for their entire intranet. And they were also able to tame down their SharePoint chaos, because they were using SharePoint for intranet and internal sites before that. And they would end up with hundreds, if not thousands of sites, and nobody's maintaining the standards on them. And so they were actually able to bring all of that under control using ServiceNow as the main platform of choice for their intranet. So that's one example with Paramount. And we do have a lot of other like webinars and things like that as well that were done with Paramount because of the success that they were actually having with the implementation that was done. That's the one that comes to mind in terms of an end-to-end thing.
It's a great one. You're talking about a global brand household name leaning on Intellective for the unique services that you guys can provide and a clear outcome.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
Switching gears slightly now, you've obviously been hands-on from the day you first launched the company and working and scaling it. A part of it is creating the strategic direction and the products, but the other side is building a team and a culture. Talk to us a little bit about the environment there. Give our audience a look behind the scenes of the current org at Intellective, from the overall size to the various locations and the skills that exist, and a little bit on the culture, if you could.
Yes, absolutely. So in terms of Intellective and the teams, we are a very flat company. So we don't really have a lot of hierarchies. And we have team members all across the US. And then we have team members also in South America. And since about, I would say now 3 years, we have been 100% remote. So everybody is working remotely. We have offsites where we all meet and actually get together and really share things in person as well. And then the Knowledge Conference is another opportunity where we get a lot of our team members in one place where we all get to hang out with each other also. So the team really is very focused on the experience and really innovation. So Intellective is a company that can build things that run on ServiceNow that nobody can tell that this is in fact running on ServiceNow. And that's what we strive towards, which is making it such that the technology and the complexity of the technology disappears behind the ease of use of everything that our users are touching. In terms of the team makeup, on the technology side, most of our team members are going to be end-to-end developers or full stack developers, as they call them, because they are really thinking of it in terms of the end-to-end experience of the users. And then we have a lot of deep technical ServiceNow expertise as well. So we have a separate team that actually has ServiceNow certified people in terms of the products that we support as well as the product lines that we support. And then there is a big emphasis on the UI design as well as UX. And that's what makes up the entire product org that we have. And now coming into the solution side, where we actually are doing the implementation and support, is again teams or pods made out of a combination of all of these skill set that actually then become the delivery team for various customers as they are taking on implementation of any of the solutions that we have.
Going back to your earlier point about the road ahead, I want to spend some time now talking about the next chapter for Intellective. You've obviously accomplished so much since launching the business with your status as an elite ServiceNow partner with many products available on the platform, and now talking about bringing it all together as one end-to-end managed service. When you look at the next chapter for Intellective, what are you excited about? What does the next 12 to 18 months look like, and what do you hope to accomplish?
Yes, and that's been a very interesting journey for sure. We started out consulting, became a product company, launched 5 different products to now consolidating into one single solution. So there's a lot of lessons learned that actually have brought us to the point where we are here. Given that we are working with these really large companies all around the world, and we talked about Paramount, there's companies like Best Buy, there's major energy companies, things like that. As we look at every one of these customers, one of the things that we have realized is that the success for any product is in the support. And the reason we had 98% of our customers last year renew multi-year for all the products that they were actually licensing. And the reason where we were actually that successful in the renewals on multi-years, everybody renewed, but most of them renewed multi-year scale because of the kind of support that we provide. And now that we are actually making an offering that actually goes far and wide, this is really going to help the customers really be bold about their technology roadmap and be bold about stating that we want this to be working a certain way, to be looking a certain way, and not really get bogged down by just some misconceptions around ServiceNow, or even be scared of the platform of saying, am I incurring technical debt? And so that's what we are actually going after now in terms of, as we build the solutions looking ahead, to really have very high touch support for our customers to really be able to be bold and build what you want, not what you can.
With that continued build and with the growing demand for the services that you've been providing steadily over the past 9+ years, you've had to continue to bring in talent. You talked a little bit earlier about the environment, the culture, and where people are based. Speaking to an audience of potential future employees, when you're talking to candidates about a position at Intellective, what is it that you tell them that gets them excited enough to join you guys over some of the other competitors also trying to attract the same high-level talent?
The biggest or the most exciting thing about what we do and what gets all the candidates excited is what we are building on the ServiceNow platform or what we are actually building in general for the customers that we have. So one big thing is that the solutions that, and it doesn't matter whether it is design, whether it is sales or development, right? Anything, the output that they're actually having is affecting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world. So the scale of these solutions and the reach of these solutions is really far and wide. And then it is not just the standard ServiceNow work where you're saying, okay, we are just implementing ITSM or we're implementing some other acronym, right? It is more about how are we directly working with the customers to make an impact on their population, make an impact and really give them the ROI on all the investments that they're making. So when we look at these results and when we look at the kind of brands that they actually get exposure to, the kinds of solutions that they get to build, that is the most exciting part of it, where they are able to really say, okay, I can come in here and I can change how a big company like PepsiCo does knowledge management or something like that. And that is what drives, or that is what gets the real innovators thinking on saying, yes, can I think through something like this? Is this a big enough challenge for me to take on? And for the right candidates, that's exciting because they will be able to come in and say, yes, I have seen these things in my career and I now have an opportunity to bring them to life.
Ritesh, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. I know we've been talking about getting you on the show for quite some time now, having worked with you in the past, and we're very excited to see what you guys can accomplish in the year ahead. We wish you the very best of luck, and we look forward to having you back on the show again in the very near future.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure chatting with you as well, John.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.